Hey, this is Dave Pryor. Welcome to Agile 2019. We're doing interviews with speakers and thought leaders here at the conference all week long in the Leading Agile booth. Matt Smith is here. Matt, thanks for coming out.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And Matt is a managing consultant at Leading Agile, and we're going to talk about creating the backlog at the portfolio. I have to look at my notes because it's the end of the day. Creating the backlog at the portfolio level.
Right.
We want to make sure there's alignment from the company strategy all the way down to the work being done by the teams.
Exactly. So what we're seeing is an opportunity, right?
Okay.
Basically with many agile transformations, it's, I don't want to say simplistic, but, we start at the team level in many cases where it's, we start to spin teams up and we have good luck at that. And we focus teams around products as opposed to projects. And then there's a natural evolution into creating a product line, right?
Okay.
Or I'd say at that program level, as many people refer to it.
And when you say, I just want to make sure everybody's in sync with this. So program, meaning a bunch of related projects, portfolio, everything across the organization.
Right. So product line, meaning that a line of products that support into, that particular line. And then upwards to even, another layer, meaning a product group. Okay. Right. Which ultimately feeds into portfolio. So a portfolio can have several product groups, which each product group can have several product lines. Okay. And with each product line can have several products. When you're talking a massively scaled transformation. Okay. Right. So, the opportunity we see here is how do you align, or the challenge that we see is how do you ensure that your market strategy is aligned to your delivery ecosystem, your delivery strategy, your deployment strategy, right? Okay. So your strategic planning has to...
If you're watching this, there's people who've climbed into the booth while we're trying to do a live video.
That's okay.
So their butts are on Facebook right now.
It's all part of the fun. We were being flexible at this time right here. So, all right, super cool. So what we're attempting to do is, solve the challenge on how do you ensure that your market strategy aligns all the way down into your deployment strategy, and it's really hitting that strategic planning layer. Okay. And most strategic planning is done at, say, the portfolio level. Right. So, in many cases, many companies, as they scale, right, they still live in, we call it waterfall type portfolio planning activities.
Well, this is the thing I want to ask you about, because they're used to figuring out company-wise, what do we want the strategy to be? Mm-hmm. There's the teams building the stuff, but I often see there's no connection, or they can't clearly see the connection between the two.
So we hear disconnection, right? Or in some cases, we hear collision. All right. Okay. All right. So, collision can happen when, you have your product teams, you have your product line, your product groups, and things are going swimmingly. They're going well. And you see that alignment is there. And then say a new demand comes in.
And they have no capacity for it.
Right. Or they are not aligned to it. So what do we do when our delivery or deployment ecosystem no longer aligns with our market strategy? Okay. All right. So what does strategic planning do? That's one case you'll see. And that's where I say that we're on a collision course. And I hear it, often is that, geez, Matt, we're on a collision course because we did all this work to instantiate this agile ecosystem, but right now we believe that it's not going to meet next year's demand. Well, okay, good problem, right?
So they built this is an organization that has gotten to the point where they've built an environment that can support agile.
Yes.
From a product mindset.
Right.
But once they get further down the path, they're not going to be able to deliver on it? Is that what you're saying? Or?
It could potentially be that, right? Okay. So there's a flexibility aspect. And when you help build them, that's a good problem, right? It's like, okay, well, we instantiated all this. Let's really test this thing and let's start to make those alterations if we need to in order for to make that happen. Well, that's great. That's if you have a portfolio or a strategy team that is aligned from their market strategy all the way through. Okay. Getting there is hard. Okay, so what we see is getting the teams in line, product teams is, it's a challenge. Product lines could even be a greater challenge. Groups is right, you get, more layering in here. What happens when you get to that portfolio layer, it's you'll see a disconnect. Okay. And when we see those disconnects, namely what I speak is wow, we instantiated all these things and this is looking super cool for us, but we're seeing that there's a disconnect with, a new demand coming in, right?
Okay. Can you give me an example?
Sure. You can instantiate a transformation to where, you have products that are timely, that are, let's just look at product fit, right?
Okay.
We have the right product fits in here. And when we do it right, we have product teams that are aligned with their own capabilities. We understand what their capabilities, but more importantly, at least for me, is they understand their product performance. So let's just say a team is built a product, they developed the product, and for whatever reason in the marketplace, we discover that that product is no longer performing well, meaning that it's just not a great customer fit anymore.
Not selling. People don't
It's
want
not
it.
selling,
Okay.
right? Okay, and that's okay. That happens. That's
Yeah.
why we build these things. So we need to do something about it. But what we see over here is, we have people up at the strategy layer, the marketing strategy layer, saying that we have something new coming down the line right here.
Okay.
So how do we work in to make that happen? So one aspect, if we do it right, we instantiate it right, we're flexible. That can happen. The
Meaning
other
you have the capacity to bring in a new product.
Exactly, and we have the flexibility to move things around if we need to in order to make that happen. So we understand our capabilities, we understand our products, we understand the performance aspect of it. What it means for a leader that's at that portfolio level is they have the ability, the freedom, the flexibility is to place their bets as demand comes in, or put their chips down on the teams that they're doing. So they get feedback. It's kind of cool because IT then makes that switch or the transfer, becoming an IT delivery organization or a cost center to business, not business partner. And really hate that word, that phrase, to business driver. Okay? So think about it. So now they have the ability, they understand product performance, they understand their teams, they understand where the demand is, and they're able to allocate quickly, right?
And if they don't have this, they may have instantiated an Agile organization, an ecosystem that supports it, but they've set it up in a way that it can't actually respond.
Exactly.
So it's like fakey Agile.
Sort of, yeah.
Or the cargo Agile. Maybe.
Sure. Or we waited, we did what the consultants said for us to do, and as soon as they left, we rolled back, right?
Okay.
But at the C-level suite, that's not acceptable, right?
Right.
There's a huge investment into doing this. So what you see is many times is the transformation holds at the team level. Or at the product level, right? Product teams. It holds at the integration.
But upstairs, you're like, what the hell? Why can't I do anything?
Right, and they're still upstairs. What they're doing is they're still playing the annual planning game, right? Okay. So they're up there going, okay, well, what are we going to do about 2020 demand, or worse yet, 2021 demand? And they see something coming down the line, and the folks a couple levels down see the collision coming or the disconnect. Oh my gosh, we just instantiated this thing right here. We have a disconnect up top.
I was just going to say it back and see if I can.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to process it in my head. So I've got the teams delivering, and they're using Agile, and everything's Agile all the way up. Teams' capacities, whatever it's set to, is maximized. The environment set up so that they are able to push the work through with a decent flow.
Right. There's
a new product that we have to introduce. We have no ability to get that into the system because the system's full.
Exactly. And in what we find here, the challenge here is that at that portfolio level, that's where that alignment is, let's say we're misaligned. That's where that gap or the challenge is that group level or that portfolio level has yet to make that jump. And they're still going through the annual waterfall planning cycles, and they're trying to fit that in their Agile delivery ecosystem. So we see the collision right there.
But you can't ask the company to plan in like 2-week cycles or 6-month cycles.
No, you can't. But you can ask them to align to their deployment or delivery ecosystems. And that's the challenge. So what we have in there is typical at a portfolio at that level. You'll see we go through the annual planning cycle, and they do, umpteen, 100 things in order, and they go through their phases, their waterfall phases. We do ideation, we do high-level designs, detailed designs, financial analysis, approval, right? And you're always going to want an element of that, right? But once you dive into say, okay, this is a go and let's do this, you have an opportunity right now is to get out of the waterfall mold and shift, say, your playing field into alignment with your delivery ecosystem. And what that means is that that's really where you want to push into, are you encapsulated around your values, right? Some people use value streams, some call it value alignment, call it whatever you want, but do you have an absolute encapsulated area where you want to funnel that work into, right? Makes sense? So, we're looking for encapsulation then at the higher level, because you want to start landing that work into those areas. And as soon as you get the encapsulation around those value activities or those value streams, if you want to call it that, or that level of encapsulation at the higher level, you're able to allocate capacity. So in many organizations, let's look at classic product development. Most classic product development would say you would go ahead and align around learn, buy, get, use, pay, and support.
Okay.
And you can translate that or extrapolate that out to say marketing, sales, and service.
Okay.
Right? You'll see that.
Sure.
Or some people will call it shop, buy, and own. It's the actual encapsulation. So, at your learning aspect, you're shopping right there. As the work comes in, is you want to increase, a better shopping experience or a better customer experience, that work is going to fall in there, and you really want to encapsulate around that shopping experience, right? Okay. So that would be a value, all right, an area of encapsulation that you would want to do. But you want to instantiate that at that high level, right? And that's where you want to say, so if you're going to put more activity, more prioritization on your marketing or your learning area or your shopping area, well, obviously that's where you want your capacity. And that's where you have that's where you have that economic trade-off conversation of, how much does the project cost? And no more of that. It's we want to invest this much or allocate this much capacity to this encapsulated area. And then you want to work on encapsulating that, right? And that's where we go deep into scaling agility. Same thing that happened at the team is you want to encapsulate the team as much as possible, right? You want to have less dependencies. Right. So that's where you're lifting it up. As soon as you're able to go from that waterfall aspect and then, have a different playing field that's encapsulated around value, has dedicated capacity, and you're building a backlog that's leveraging and pointed and allocated specifically to critical business objectives, right? Say product fit, if it's quality, if it's cost, if it's lowering cost, whatever it is important to that entity, they build their own specific matrix at that level. Right. What they're able to do is to quickly identify areas, right, of value, minimum viable product at the highest level, allocate it to that delivery ecosystem, and get it queued up, right? And then you've literally then transferred the portfolio level at that higher level, kind of turn it on its side is what I call it, because you're no longer working through vertical phases of portfolio waterfall management. Right. You've kind of turned it on its side. And that what it does is it just streamlines the entire ecosystem. So that's where that great big challenge is we do a really good job at teams getting spun up. Yeah. A lot of attention around it, a lot of team coaching that's out there, right? High emphasis on that. And you see teams get frustrated. Right? Yeah,
but now you've got to coach the C-level and get them to understand
exactly
the adjustments that they have to make to be able to feed the system so it can give them what they need.
Yep, and so what we work on is it's creating a new playing field. Right? We want them to go from the traditional model they're in to playing an entirely different game. So you're getting a different result as different set of results by doing so. And it works. So it's not just that easy. I mean, we all know how hard encapsulation is. Yeah. And if we can't do encapsulation, then we cite those out as dependencies. We equate them as a compensating control. Same thing that happens up there. So this is what really helps to stick. It's the sticking point of instantiating agility at that higher level. Right? Make sense?
Yeah. But it's going to be very complicated for people at that level to make that shift, especially because they got to that level through the waterfall.
Yes.
And now you're telling them this isn't going to work anymore. It's a whole new way for them to think about it.
It's going to work, but it's going to take longer. It's going to work with tons of friction and dependencies. It's going to work with a large level of frustration from the teams that you just invested in to say that this is how we want to receive work now, because we've already developed our new playing field. We're already working in this delivery ecosystem, and our product line above us is working in this, and our product group is now working in this, and now we see a disconnect at the portfolio level. And it's like, well, that group has to get in line as well. And that's really the glue that ties the marketing strategy, and it glues the strategic planning into your strategic deployment system. And that's that missing piece that we see quite often, right? And many, you take why Agile fails at higher levels, right? It's just one of these things that there's just not, folks not committed to actually going through that it's, could be a tedious process, right? And we do it the same way. We take slices of the organization off, right? We start with vertical slices of the organization at the team level. Well, we want to raise that up. So if you're just working with marketing, well, let's just start with marketing. Right, so, now let's go with them marketing and sales, and then let's go marketing, sales, and service, or whatever your value alignments are. I mean, they could be a series of anything, right? It depends on, it's just a general way to think about.
So I want to just make it for myself, because I'm slow-witted and it's the end of a long day. You were talking about getting the teams ready to receive work, or the teams are ready to receive work. Right. So I have taught you how to catch the football if I throw it down there. And so you run down the field, and instead of a football I take a golf ball and smack it at you. You're not going to be able to catch the golf ball.
Right. You know, it's
I know
a running
it's
joke.
ridiculous.
You know, you have one too many one night with your friends. You call your wife and you say, I need a ride home. And how bad is it? You say, well, it's football bat, right? You know, I grabbed my football bat and I jumped back and I hit a 3-pointer and I scored a goal, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it's a mismatch of everything. So imagine, and it's, again, it really goes back to the core aspect of, are we setting the necessary conditions for agility to take hold? And we set them at the team level, clearing condition safety, cross-functional teams, you know, holding teams accountable for working tested software on a regular cadence and increment. We want that same thing to go all the way up.
All the way up.
Yeah, and that is, that can sometimes get really tough. And it's because, now think of the stressors that are there.
Yeah.
You know, that's a different level of pressure that's coming from above. You know, C-level, board type people that need to see that stuff in a certain way. You know, and that's what they're used to. You know, it's a little bit harder.
And teaching them how to read that stuff and understand that stuff as a brand new language.
Exactly, but it's not like it can't be allocated or translated into dollars and cents.
Yeah.
It certainly can, you know, but at the end of the day is, I mean, how do you make sure that your market strategy is aligned with your strategic planning? Your strategic planning line is taking advantage of your agile delivery ecosystem. Yeah, it's that strategic system you just put in. Well, that's that critical piece right there. Okay. And then that's like, you know, I want to say one of the last things you do, it's one of the most things that you want to be forward thinking about as you're building these large scale transformations out, is that somewhere along the line, everyone has to shift. Everyone's going to be playing a new game on a new ball field, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer for them to get there. Cool. But that's what we're here for.
All right. So if people want to find out more about this, what's the best way to reach you?
You can look us up at leadingagile.com. You can see me. You can go into, what do we call it under there?
Our guides.
Our guides. You can contact me personally. My email is on there.
Cool.
And if always, you know, you can just hit our inbox and someone will reach out to you quickly. That's for sure.
Cool. All right, dude. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thanks so much.
Enjoy the rest of the conference. Keep watching. We've got a couple more to do tonight. We're going to be doing them all week long here at Agile 2019.